Welcome to a new episode of TEBETÉ, where we tell history, but cooler. And welcome to our first episode in English. And what better for the first episode in English of a podcast about history than an episode about the history of English language? So grab your coffee, tea, protein shake, whatever keeps you going. And let's dive into a story full of drama, invasions, spicy cultural shifts, and so many plot twists you'd think it was a Netflix series. Our story starts way back, like over 5,000 years ago, in an area that's now part of Ukraine and southern Russia. There was a group of people speaking a language we now call the Proto-Indo-European. They didn't write anything down, no books, no podcasts, no TikToks. But the language is the ancestor of hundreds of languages we speak today, including English, Spanish, Hindi, Persian, Greek, Latin. Seriously, it's wild. So, how do we know this? Let me introduce you to Sir William Jones, the real MVP of language history. In the 1700s, he was a British judge working in India, and he started studying Sanskrit, an ancient Indian language. And he was like, wait a second, Sanskrit looks a lot like Latin and Greek, and kind of like English too. He basically said, these languages didn't just borrow words from each other. They must come from the same original mother language. And the Indo-European language family was officially born. Okay, fast forward a few thousand years, and we zoom in on a rainy little island we now call Britain. Before English even existed, the island was home to Celtic-speaking tribes. But around the year 450, Germanic tribes, the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, invaded. They brought their own languages, which blended into something now we know called Old English. Spoiler alert, it sounds nothing like what we speak today. If you heard someone speaking it, you wouldn't recognize a single word. For example, in Old English, you would say, Ik liefde, which nowadays we know as I love you. Romantic? Maybe. Understandable? Not really. Then, the drama kicked up a notch. In 793, the Vikings showed up from Scandinavia. That's a region in Northern Europe that includes modern-day Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And they didn't just bring chaos, meaning raids, battles, a total shakeup of life on the island. They brought words. Words like sky, egg, knife, husband, they, even anger. So yeah, a lot of your vocabulary has Viking vibes. But the real plot twist came in 1066, when a guy called William the Conqueror from Normandy, a region in northern France, just across the English Channel, invaded England. William believed he had a rightful claim to the English throne. So he crossed that channel, which is a stretch of water that separates southern England from northern France. And it's only about 20 miles wide at its narrowest point. Well, this guy won the Battle of Hastings and took over. Suddenly, the English court, the nobles, the legal system, they all started speaking French. So imagine being a regular person on the street. Your king speaks French. Your neighbor speaks Old English, and your priest speaks Latin. Confusing? Oh, yeah, totally. And this is when English started absorbing words like crazy. Over 60% of today's English vocabulary comes from Latin and French. That's why we have pairs of words like begin, which is Germanic, versus commands, which is Latin. We've got help versus assist. We've got kingly versus royal. They mean the same, but one sounds casual, the other sounds fancy. And that's the legacy of those centuries of linguistic drama. Now, quick pit stop. You might have noticed that English sounds different across the UK. Why? Well, before the Germanic invasions, places like Scotland, Wales, and Ireland already had their own ancient languages. They had Gaelic, Welsh, Irish. Those languages left deep marks on pronunciation, intonation, and even grammar in some cases. So, what we call British English isn't one single accent. It's a family of regional voices shaped by geography, politics, and deep, deep history. And now we jump across the Atlantic. Let's talk about why American English is so different. After the American colonies declared independence, people weren't just trying to build a new country, they were crafting a brand new identity, a new flag, a new anthem, and yep, a new voice. That's where Noah Webster comes in. Yeah, the guy behind the Webster Dictionary. He believed American English should reflect how people actually spoke, not how the British elite spell things in their posh circles. So he kicked off a spelling revolution. Color became color without the U. Center turned into center with a different spelling. Theater flipped to theater with a different spelling with the R and the E in different positions. And defense with a C simplified into defense with an S. But this wasn't just about cleaner spelling. It was political. It was America saying, we're not your colony anymore. We've got our own way of speaking. But the differences go beyond spelling. Pronunciation and accent started to evolve too. And here's the twist. Some American accents are actually closer to how English was pronounced in the 1600s than modern British ones. Why? Because after the American Revolution, British English kept changing. It became more refined, especially in London, developing what we now call the received pronunciation. Meanwhile, Americans held on to older pronunciations and mixed them with influences from Dutch, German, Irish, Native American, and African languages. As immigration shaped the US, so did the sound of its English. Fast forward to the 20th century, and with Hollywood, pop music, Silicon Valley, and global media booming, American English became the version most of the world hears and learns. So yeah, the accents, the spellings, the slang is not just language. It's history in every syllable. But let's be real. English isn't just British or American. It's Nigerian, Indian, Jamaican, Australian, Singaporean. It's everyone's now. And it keeps changing. Every meme, every slang word, every immigrant who adds their own flavor. It all becomes part of the language. Today, over 1.5 billion people speak English around the world, making it the most widely spoken language globally when you combine native and second language speakers. It ranks as the third most spoken native language. On the internet, English dominates, is the number one most used language online, and also the most used language on Wikipedia. With over 6.8 million articles. English is an official or widely spoken language in countries like
the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, South Africa, Nigeria, India, the Philippines, Singapore, Jamaica, Kenya, Ghana, Uganda, Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, Botswana, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Zambia, Malawi, Papua New Guinea, Guyana, Cameroon, the Bahamas, Barbados, Fiji, Mauritius, Lesotho, Swaziland,
and many more. So yeah, when you speak English, you're part of one very global conversation. So next time someone corrects your English, remind them this language has always been about mixing, borrowing, and evolving. There is no one right English. There is just your English and my English, and the crazy beautiful story that brought us both here. Thanks for hanging out today. If you like this episode, please share it with someone who thinks English is just English. Surprise them with some Asian gossip. And don't forget to follow TEBETÉ for more stories that connect dots you didn't even know were connected. So, I'll catch you next time for another episode of TEBETÉ, where we tell history, but cooler.